Hey, what is going on, IK Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are back again giving you that IK goodness in our review for what is now going to be at least a sneak peekish from the most recently announced information, even though for the most part it's been pretty public. But this is going to be a first look at the new 1.8 update, at least from the most recent announcement that we have seen that has been posted, not only on the official IK Discord, but also on their Facebook. Now, what we're going to take a look at now that you're going to be seeing here on screen is essentially the important news that was posted here on the Infinity Kingdom Facebook group about 9 hours ago. Now, we're just going to do a quick review. I'm going to share some thoughts, my opinions on some things. And before we get started, make sure you guys do sub, like, ring that notification bell. And of course, if you want to be a part of our conversation, you can join our Discord in the pinned comment / description down below. All right. So let's go ahead and start this off top to bottom. Some of this information is, I would imagine, has been made public before, but we will go over everything and then do a summary and possibly some opinions throughout. Important news. The new version will go live on January 13th. That's 5 days from now. After the version 1.8 update, each server will begin the official season system. This is going to be for KVK, but, well, most likely. Most of it really will be focused on KVK. But the season system will determine the season stage of each server based on the progress of their Chronicle and Legion of Frostborn, with progression in the new season system, new level caps, right? This is what we've heard before, which will include buildings, immortals, troops, dragons, and more, will be unlocked, and new academy technology and talents will be available. The season system is split into 5 stages. The prep season, when the server hasn't completed the Chronicle event, 21, Royal Ambition. Season 1, after the server has completed Chronicle 21, Royal Ambition, but before completing the first round of Legion of Frostborn. Then we have, and first round of Legion of Frostborn, I imagine this is going to be the trial season, unless they just scrap the trial season eventually and they just kind of go right into Season 1. We'll have to see how that plays out. So it could include it. Season 2, after the server has completed the first round of Legion of Frostborn, but not the second. And I think this is kind of telling here, right? Because this could be what they mean by Season 1 and trial. Season 3, after the server has completed the second round of Legion of Frostborn, but not the third. Conquest season, after the server has completed the third round of LOF and has entered the Conquest season. The increase in level caps, buildings, Lord level, Lord talents, troops tier, Tower of Knowledge skills, dragon levels, etc. you've all been waiting for will be unlocked in Season 2. Let's continue our trials in Legion of Frostborn and see what the future holds. So we will get that, right? So it says unlocked in Season 2, right? This is important because it doesn't state will it be unlocked when Season 2 starts, in the middle of Season 2, right before Season 2 ends, or even when Season 2 ends. So, right, what we can assert is that it's sometime in between. It could be at the beginning or the end. Season 2 here is when you're going to get those level caps. So again, after the server has completed the first round of Legion of Frostborn, but not the second. So this is still pretty early, right? I mean, essentially, if this applies to the trial KVK season, then that would mean once that completes, and then you get in, right? So Season 2, after the server has completed the first round, but not the second. So this means that you have to have had completed trial season, right? But before it looks like starting from what it looks like going into the next round, after the server has completed the second round. So, okay, so it has to be sometime between, after, okay, so it has to be sometime before the second round of LOF finishes, right, but after the first round has completed. So sometime in between there is when we will find out exactly when those level increases will happen. So which isn't that bad, right? And I'm going to touch on something as well here in a bit, right? Again, a lot of this is some of the face value information. I'm sure there's going to be more that's coming out of the 1.8 update because it has been a while since the 1.7 update. So I'm sure we're going to start getting more of those sneak peeks, more interest. But one thing I do want to put out there is, at least when it comes to migration, it is somewhat interesting because even though I don't think this is going to be too impactful, because even if you migrate to a server once it opens at 90 days, you have a brief window before the trial season starts or whatever the first season may be called. If it changes, you'll have a window to come in, play that out, and then once that finishes, sometime after that is when you will start getting those level increases. But the interesting part will be if players decide to wait until after the first season / trial season for a new server finishes, because if they go in early, right, and you are already increasing and you're already at Castle 40, right, and you're able to increase and start getting some of these other upgrades, then you may delay actually going to a server before or once this ends, right? Like, this is something to really consider, is that it's not as though they're just having it be available for everyone, right? So timings are going to be, I at least think timings are going to be important here, where you might see some players defer their migration until after the first season of the trial season has finished, because there is a chance that if you go in before that, let's say you're Castle 45, 44, right? You've already started diving into some of these future newer techs. Maybe some of those techs, or maybe you won't be able to increase your castle level anymore or tap into some of the new or higher tier upgrades if you migrate back to a server that, based on where their timeline is, they have not yet unlocked. Very similar to how artifacts are, right? If you migrate to, well, I mean, again, you can't really necessarily do it now, but right, if you have, or if you haven't reached a certain point in Chronicle to unlock your artifacts, right, you're not going to get those. So I imagine it could be something like that, where it's just almost disabled, right, or it's grayed out, where you just cannot access it, unless they stipulate and they state something else. But at least for me, this is one of the big things that immediately comes to mind. I'm not sure if anyone else has considered this, or if you've thought about it as well, but it is something that I find very interesting on how it will play out. When it comes to some of the new things that we're going to see right now, there's a lot here, right? You're going to see level caps for buildings. You're going to see the immortals. We're going to see the troops. We're going to see dragons, right? New academy tech, higher talents, and then here, right, more tower of knowledge. We're going to see dragon. It's literally like they're just adding on, a bunch of things as far as increasing thresholds, right? Beyond that, or better yet, maybe stretching goalposts, if you want to word it that way. But I do think it is going to bring an interesting thing here, and if it's something that, and what I will say is, I think it's important, but the challenge is that I think, and this is just me kind of spitballing this last part, I think the reason why they capped this off on not affecting the first season of KVK is because they don't want to kind of see that inflated. I think the challenge, though, is that unless they're going to stop people, like unless they're going to put some kind of a cap on that says only Castle 40s and below can come into the server prior to season 1, right? That would be the only way you can stop that influx, right? Otherwise, you can have people that are now new max level, right? Like, because think about it like this: you could have people that are Castle, like let's say it goes to 45 or it goes to 50. You could have players that are just already maxed out, right? And again, not necessarily troop power excluded, but they could be maxed out in a lot of other areas, and essentially just have access to that because they're in an older server, and then they go to a new server where migration just opened, and if there are no caps in place, you could easily see players that are, like I said, Castle 40, 50, right? They've already tapped into a lot higher tech. They're essentially, right, they just have advantages because they're stronger, because if they're going into a server that just opened up for migration, well, the players that are currently there do not have access to the new building levels, the new dragon skill levels, right, any of the new levels that they would have. So, again, that is something to consider. I'm not sure if they are going to have some kind of a system in place for that, if it's something that they're going to address. This is just something that comes to mind for me when I think about, right, what is a way that we could see players potentially kind of take advantage of this system, but at the same time, right, it may only really benefit people that are kind of at that new max level, where they don't mind playing out the first season of KVK and then going into the next season once the buildings will unlock, if it in turn does actually disable or gray it out temporarily, where they cannot upgrade or dive into any more of the kind of new update tech that we'll see come out, and they just have to wait one KVK season for it to then be unlocked, and they can start redoing it again. So just interesting. Again, I'd love to hear from y'all, though, if this is something that you feel could either be kind of taken advantage of, right? Is it a gray area that you have questions about? Again, I think most players are really excited, like myself, when we end up having some of the new levels that are coming out. I know I've mentioned this before. I do just think it is a little bit too early, in my opinion, but it's not something that I'm necessarily against, right? I think I understand why it is. I think when I compare this against other kingdom builders, right, where, at least from ones I've played, I personally feel like it takes less time to get to max castle level here than it necessarily does in some of the other games. And so I from that approach, right, I actually do like the reason, if it is from that, I like that reason that at least it's something that, right, we're almost a year in to the game, and, now you're seeing this happen, right, regardless of what I kind of look at when it comes to an overall scope on how it may affect the entire player base, right. I do think that it is something that is exciting, right, and we don't necessarily, there's no foolproof way of knowing how it is going to impact, right. These are just my thoughts on it. Outside of that, can't wait for more teasers, can't wait for more updates, sneak peeks that are going to be coming out. And let me know, again, do you agree, do you disagree with what I talked about in this, right? Some of the curious questions that we'll have to wait to get some answers on, right? Are these things that you see as well, right? How do you possibly see migration being impacted in this way or not? And again, let me know anything and everything you guys are thinking in those comments down below. That is it for me. Until next time, we will catch y'all later.